In the morning of June 18, 1986 at 8:55 a.m., Grand Canyon Airlines Canyon 6 departed from Grand Canyon National Park Airport for a sightseeing tour. The Grand Canyon has been called America's greatest natural landmark, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. But this beautiful destination became a lesson for many visitors one day. Yes, we are talking about the 1986 Grand Canyon mid-air collision. The accident occurred due to a collision between 2 aircrafts that were Grand Canyon Airlines Canyon Flight 6 and Helitech Flight 2. The question arises, how could the pilots of these 2 aircraft make an error that led to such a sudden and tragic end for their passengers, leaving no one able to escape? Let's know the answer in this video. If we talk about Grand Canyon Flight 6, this aircraft established in 1927. Initially, it offered simple sightseeing flights over the Grand Canyon, primarily serving tourists seeking a unique aerial view of this natural wonder. It started with small aircraft and a limited number of flights, designed mainly for scenic tours. With the passage of time, the company started construction and advancements for giving best facilities to the passengers. After some years, this aircraft became popular and proved to be a useful resource for tourists. Because the accident of 1956 Grand Canyon mid-air collision, that is considered one of the most shocking air crash incidents in 20th century. The collision occurred between a Trans World Airlines (TWA) Super Constellation and a United Airlines DC-7 on June 30, 1956, resulting in the tragic deaths of all 128 people aboard both aircraft. Due to this accident, the Grand Canyon Airlines damaged effectively. Flight 6 services was strengthened as airspace regulations and safety protocols were reformed nationwide. From 1960 to 1980, Grand Canyon Airlines, with flights like Flight 6, became well known primarily within the southwestern United States and among national and international tourists interested in seeing the Grand Canyon. Inspired by his fame in 1967, it was purchased by Elling B. Halverson, a construction company owner who saw potential in aerial tours of the Grand. By 1986, Grand Canyon Airlines had a $50 to $80 million business. But a few days later, Grand Canyon Airlines suffered another setback that on June 18, 1986, the aircraft, carrying 2 pilots and 18 passengers. The pilots were operating their second scenic flight for the day, showcasing the breathtaking views of Grand Canyon National Park. 18 minutes after the Canyon Airlines Flight 6 took off. On the other hand, at 9:13 a.m., Bell 206 helicopter, Helitech Flight 2 took off from the company's heliport in Tucson, Arizona, for a 30-minute sightseeing flight. Helitech was still in its early phase of operations, having just started offering on-demand sightseeing flights over the Grand Canyon. Because this helicopter was launched only 18 days ago, the Bell 206 helicopter, which was initially developed for military use, was introduced in 1962. The civilian version, known as the Bell 206B Jet Ranger, was introduced in 1967. This helicopter became widely popular for commercial use, especially for sightseeing tours, including flights over the Grand Canyon. On April 1, 1986, the association requested that now there is a need of such helicopter which can promote tourism more. 2 months later, on June 1st, the director of this same tour operator launched a new company called Helitech, which planned to specialize in on-demand sightseeing flights. Since this helicopter was new, therefore a former pilot named John Diboni, in the age of 39 years, had been hired only 5 days earlier. But he was perfectly familiar with both the aircraft and the route. As the 2 aircraft entered the Grand Canyon's airspace, both tuned into a shared radio frequency commonly used by tour operators in the region. This frequency allowed them to communicate and stay aware of each other's positions to help avoid collisions. By around 9:25 a.m., Canyon 6 had likely reached the western end of its tour near Wheeler Point, while Tech 2 was approaching the ancestral Puebloan ruins near Point Sublime. At approximately 9:30 a.m., a pilot overheard the Canyon 6 reporting that it had passed Havasupai Point and was heading east toward Scorpion and Crystal Rapids. Just a few minutes later, the same pilot heard the Tech 2 report from Captain Diboni stating that the helicopter was west of Mencius at 6,400 feet, heading south. This meant Tech 2 had passed the ruins and was turning toward Crystal Rapids and Cacopa Point, where it would exit the canyon. What exactly happened on board Tech 2 and Canyon 6 as they approached the collision point remains uncertain, but some details are clear. Canyon 6, which was flying eastbound, had likely started its wide right turn toward Cacopa Point, while Tech 2 was heading straight south toward Crystal Rapids. Tech 2 reported it was flying at an altitude of 6,400 feet, which was within 100 feet of its prescribed altitude for that part of the flight. On the other hand, the standard route for Canyon 6 would have had it climbing from 7,100 feet to 7,300 feet. However, the elevation of the Cacopa Point rim was only 6,500 feet, meaning there was no immediate need for Canyon 6 to reach higher altitudes. It's common for planes to fly lower in such cases. At about 9:33 a.m., just north of the Colorado River and southwest of Mencius Temple, the Tech 2 helicopter collided with the Canyon 6 plane with a huge impact. The helicopter's rotor blades struck the plane's nose landing gear, followed almost immediately by the rear fuselage. This caused the plane's back row of windows to shatter and ripped off its tail section. The helicopter's main rotor exploded, sending blades flying in all directions. The plane's fuel tanks burst, creating a large cloud of aviation fuel. Both aircraft lost control, spiraling downward and flipping upside down as debris flew off. They plummeted several thousand feet toward the canyon floor. There was no time for a distress signal. Moments later, Canyon 6 crashed into the base of Mencius Temple and exploded in flames, ending the lives of all aboard both aircraft. No one saw the two aircraft collide. After a few moments later, a pilot saw a rising smoke from the depth of canyon. Besides that, the pilot of a National Park Service helicopter heard a transmission over the common frequency describing the collision and reporting that survivors were walking around near the wreckage. He immediately returned to base, grabbed his medical equipment, and followed the smoke to the crash site. Despite the report, he found no sign of any survivors. Unfortunately, neither aircraft involved in the 1986 Grand Canyon Midair collision was equipped with a flight data recorder or a cockpit voice recorder. Additionally, there were no witnesses to the accident, making it impossible to determine exactly what the pilots were doing in the moments leading up to the crash. This lack of critical data and first-hand accounts left investigators with limited information to understand the pilot's actions or decision-making processes before the tragic collision occurred. Additionally, investigators found that the pilots of Canyon 6 could have been suffering from chronic fatigue at the time of the accident. But it is not wrong to say that Canyon Airlines focused on improving the aircraft rather than discovering radar data. After collision, the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA) took several steps to address the aftermath and improve safety protocols, especially in congested areas like the Grand Canyon, and regulations were made to improve the radar system. Today, both the flights are providing services with basic responsibility and ensuring the safety of people. So what are your thoughts about these airlines crash? Tell us in comment section. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more incredible videos. Thanks for watching.